All right, everybody, welcome. Tonight, we're going to go over all of our bad trades, and I'm going to show you why it was a bad trade based on the indicators that we use and the chart patterns. And hopefully, after tonight's session, you'll be more consistently profitable, and hopefully, the emotion is well managed. Because at the end of the day, based on what I've discovered, is the emotion is what's getting in the way, and I'm guilty of it as well. When it comes to support and resistance, and then matching up with our indicators, right? Whether it be using the 10 and 20 SMAs, the volume profile, the Fibonacci, the stochastic, the RSI, whatever it is, they start conflicting each other. And tonight I want to go over some clean chart reading and why, we're taking a losing trade versus being on the right side of the trade. Okay, so we're gonna wait a few minutes and see if we can get more people in here. But let's talk about your trades, which is I'm gonna be looking at the profit and loss section in our in our Discord and try to find some losing trades, like the red trades, right? And let's discuss them to see if I can find what was the mistakes. Okay. So, all right, let me share my screen. Back screens. Q1. Okay. All right. You guys should be able to see my screen, right?
Yep.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. So let's go over some trades. All right. So let's begin. Who can I pick on? Who wants to go first? What was the trade that you lost on, and why did you lose on it? And then we can go over it in the chart and try to find out. Who wants to go first?
You got my list, bro.
All right, so let's go over your list. Where's that at? Oh, that's right. So your list, take a look. Mm, Give me a minute here. So let's go over. So AMC was a good trade. Arab. So Arab today scalping. There we go. And then if you can help me out here, based on your trade, it looks like you were going long. So you want the stocks to go up. Okay. So I guess let's break down your thought process and then let's go over why it was going against you.
Um, Geez, man. I don't even know where to start, bro.
So based on looking at it today, let's see. Based on looking at it today, right? When before market open. So basically this line right here, before market open, right? What was your thought process coming into it, and why? And then why was it then we'll determine why it was a losing trade.
So it looks like I tried catching a falling knife right there
Okay. So let's just
after
say,
after it spiked up.
right, let's just say you don't this doesn't exist yet, right? I'm gonna shade that off. This doesn't exist yet because the market's not open. So based on that, let me see. Make this black. Really gonna cover it up. Oh, dang. I should hang on. Try to find a way to cover this. thicker. Guess this the heck? Why is it not showing? It's supposed to be white. Okay. I guess the best way I can do it. Okay. All right. Sorry. So, yeah, based on that, um, what was your thought process on it? And obviously you're going long, so let's just break it down on what you're seeing here.
So you're on a 1 hour. I chart and I have my volume profile. So I kind of
Okay.
I noticed they trade within the top line, middle line, or the middle line and the bottom line. Majority of the time, they kind of bounce around there and then break out either downside or upside.
Yeah. So your volume profile is what is it set to a daily, weekly, or monthly?
Daily.
Daily. Okay, so daily, same, everything else is the same. So let's put it on here so I can also see what you're seeing. Okay, so remove. So that's, is that what it looks like? Like that? So based on,
Correct.
so based on your entry and you look at it from the 5 minute?
So I have on my every stock I'm trading, I have 1 minute, 5 minute, 15 minute, 30, and then 1 hour. All I can see all in a row
Okay,
on my big screen. So I have them all set. So as soon as I open it up, I graph and I look at all. So that way I can see the 10 and 20 SMA if it's hitting somewhere to bounce out.
okay. So when you take your trades, what time frame are you in?
I'm usually trading, looking at the 1 minute and then just glancing through the other charts to see where it's at. But before I enter a trade, I always uh, draw pop up the screen on full screen, go to daily, chart it out, support resistance, some levels within its trading area that it's trading, and then go ahead and get in the area that I think it's going to go.
Okay, so I'm gonna pull up here. I'm just gonna try to replicate your screen. So I have the 1 minute on the right, and then I have 5 minute on the left here, and then 15, and then 1 hour.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just gonna do that. Okay, actually, I'm just gonna make it to 4. Okay, so there we go. So let me actually do this way. 15. I want to get into your head and see what you're seeing.
Today, I started off trading with a little bit of revenge.
Mhm.
I got pissed this morning when I realized that I was paper trading yesterday.
Mhm.
So my profits yesterday that I got was paper trading
Okay.
and not real money. I had no idea. I thought it was real money until I came in today, and I'm like, yo, why is my account still at the same amount?
Mhm.
And so today I was like,
You
I,
try
I'm
you try to make it up already.
yeah, I was so good. I was so happy. Everything was going good until I noticed that, and then just the whole interior of my body, just mind, everything was just like, oh, I got into this such disappointment, and that was not a good beginning for me. So it could have,
Gotcha.
again,
So I
me trying to maybe tell you something right now would. I mean, I understand the patterns and everything, right? But I did have a. I don't want to blame that, but I know that morning did, and since morning I instantly went in red and I started going deeper and deeper into red with all my stocks.
Mhm. Okay. So based on that, so one I can identify is revenge was already in mind to try to make up for what could have been a win from yesterday, right? And then
Yeah.
number two, so obviously we were long bias on this stock. I can see it on the hourly here, right? I can see it on the hourly. So a dip down right at the open was the idea for a hold for a quick bounce up, which we saw it bounce, right? Because we can see that on the, let's see, 15, we can even see. So we can see it on the 15 and the 10 minute or the yeah, 5 minute. So right here, we can see that it did bounce up right here, right? That's the reason there's a long wick up here. And then the second wick up here, which it went long. And we were long bias on this, right? Um, it did bounce off of the 10, but try to catch uh the falling knife like what you were saying. And if anybody can somebody describe what we're seeing here clearly, that could have identified that it should have been a short. Can you guys see this? What would be the number one thing that's obvious right now that this was a short based on what we've been going over in our sessions and what we've been preaching?
The 10 and the 20 are pointing down.
The 10 and 20 are pointing down, and what time frame?
On the 5 minute, I think it is.
Yep, on the 5 minute, and then as well as the 15 minute. The 15-minute rejection at the 20 SMA was also a clean indicator, which is this is actually a really good setup right here. Four different time frames. You had the 1 minute for ideal entry, right? And then the 5 minute for a trend direction, and then you can see it on the 15 rejection off the 20. So with that said, as far as what I went over emotionally, right? We want to be right on our trade, and what I'm seeing in this as well, and I'm guilty of this. I've been emotionally triggered to, I get long bias on certain setup, right? I'm hoping that hey, this level should hold because the 10 SMA is right there, right? The 10 SMA is right there. It should bounce, which it did bounce, but I have to also accept that, whenever it changes direction, it's going to tell me based on the 10 and 20 SMA. Okay. So as a scalper, we're going to look at the 1 minute on the right hand of the screen here. Okay. On the right hand of the screen, we can see, I'm going to clean this up. We can see as far as long bias, right? So I dip down to the 20 SMA or to the 10 SMA, which is right here in the 1 hour. I'm going to put my arrow right there. Let's see if that will give me some clean signal here. Move this again right here. Okay. So we can see that cleanly right here on the 15 that was an entry, right? We see on the right hand side right here the 15 minute. So we're entering here because we're seeing the 1 hour here, right? We're using the 10 SMA on the 1 hour as our support level for going long. What is the reason why we're going long here on the 1 hour? We're using the 1 hour time frame for going long. What's our signal? What's our indication?
The candle closed above the 20 SMA and it's pointing up.
Okay. So in this candle, since this is a 1 hour candle, this candle is not necessarily closed yet in this particular sample, but one thing that we can use is this 10 SMA is an upward direction, right? So we can use that as a guide for a potential bounce. It did sell off a little bit below that, but today was also super, super low volume. So this was like, torture, watching a stock just slowly grind down, right? We can see it on the 1 minute here, okay? But at the end of the day, it did bounce, and you can see the range. So if we entered right here, this is a really good example. If we entered right here, catching the bounce off of that 10 SMA, and it did bounce, the next question is, where is the next resistance? So if you look at the 1 hour, we really don't have any any levels to where it could go, right? Because this volume profile right here, this is gonna fluctuate because this is a live daily volume profile. This is gonna fluctuate as the candle moves up and down. And so that's going to give us false reading. What's really true in this case is if you look on a 15 minute, okay? If you look at the 15 minute, look at exactly where it rejected and tell me why did it reject right there, okay? Can somebody tell me why it had a higher chance of rejecting right at the 20 SMA and the 15 minute?
It
It's
started
already
curling
done.
down.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly. We have trend direction. Like this is this is mind-boggling to me that we sometimes, including me, we get blinded by what the chart is actually telling us versus what's in our head, right? What's in our head is a conflict of interest to what the chart is telling us. The chart is literally telling us, hey, we have a downward pressure right now. We have a like the 10 and the 20 is literally pointing down. So if this, and I'm gonna be try to be realistic as much as I can, this white line right here, right, that did not exist yet. But everything else in this left side already exists and it's already telling us everything we need to know. Do you guys agree? Everything else we need to know. The the 10 SMA is pointing down, the 20 SMA is pointing down, right? So it's not a hindsight conversation we're having here because the rest of the right side did not exist yet, and these pattern already presented itself right before the right side even existed. So in that case, it's clean that the 20 SMA was pointing down and the stock was coming up to it. And we preach this over and over that the probability of that stock reversing to the other way based where the direction of the SMA is pretty high. It's not 100%, but it has a high ratio that it will. The same thing what it did on a 1 hour here, right? It dipped down to the 10 SMA. We use that as support because it's got an upward trend. That means that's a buying pressure, and it pushed it back up until it met the 15-minute 20 SMA. Okay, and I'll tell you. Let me use another example. I'm not looking at the 30-minute yet, but I have a high conviction that this same location right here is the 10 SMA on the 30-minute. So let's take a look. Boom, boom. Look at that. You see that?
Yep.
So with that said, I want you guys to really understand how we're tying all these together and trading in the different time frames. You're trading in a 1 minute, 5 minute, 15, 30, 1 hour, right? You can literally utilize all these time frames to tell you where's the support, where's the resistance, okay? By just using the 10 and 20 SMAs. Without using the volume profile, without using support and resistance on a chart, the 10 and 20 literally just like I've been so like hesitant or not hesitant but stubborn to really follow it because I have to convince myself to ignore everything else, everything to my left, every indicators that we've used, because the 10 and 20 SMAs is been proven. Like you can literally punch in any ticker symbol and look at the 10 and 20 SMAs based on which direction they're going. It can tell you you could have made that day a profitable day if you just gave up your emotion and just said, okay, 10 and 20 is above the price candle, is pointing down, I'm going short. Or it's above the price, the 10 and 20 is pointing up, I'm going long. As simple as that. Do you guys agree?
Yes.
Okay. So, with that said, going back to 15, everything correlates, right? Everything correlates. So now we're looking at the 1 hour, we're looking at the 30, we're looking at the 15, respecting each levels, right, based on the turn. And now on the 15 on the 5 minute, right, on the 5 minute, this could have told you could have just cleaned up your mind and emotion and said, okay, if I went long, you know, right here on the 10 and on the 10 SMA on the 1 hour, I should have gotten out right here on the 20 SMA on the 15 minute or 10 SMA on the 30 minute, right? They're both the same. And then taking profit on the downside, taking profit, right? Taking profit over there and gone short here. If you weren't convinced that this was gonna come back down, you could have still taken your profit and waited for an entry on a 5 minute to go short right here, right? We know that this is a short setup because we know that 10 and 20 is pointing down. Okay, this is also important to zoom out instead of to zoom in. If you have a wide screen, this is gonna look more flat, and that's gonna be contradicting to how you can really see its um, in its direction. So if you zoom out, there's a clean indication that this was still on the downtrend. Okay, so if we entered right there to go short, then we can look at, the different time frame to go, okay, where is the crossover? The crossover was right here, right? So you could have exited right there. So in that case, you could have profited from here to here. So that's your box. That's your profit box. Okay? If you entered if you entered right here to go long, let's say right here because we're looking at the 5 minute. If you look at the 5 minute right there and you got stopped out there, I'm going to compare the box size. Tell me which box is bigger, your profit or your loss. So the small box is your loss because if you didn't take profits after you entered here and you didn't sell over here, but you respectfully stopped out right here, that's your range of loss. Okay? So with that range of loss, you went short, right? And you made money. So in this case, here's an example. So let's just say you took a, you know, $200 trade right here on this first box and you didn't take profit, but instead you got stopped out. So this box right here is a losing trade, and this size of that box represents how much money you lost. And then we're gonna compare that to the amount of money you made. Okay, so look at that. So basically, you made 1/3 more of that loss. So if you lost, for example, if you lost $200 and you made 300 on the next trade, so technically you're up $100. You guys following me?
Yep.
Okay. So this is what's this is what it can keep us green for the most part if we can just emotionless trading and get in and out of our trade based on the 10 and 20 SMA. This is literally the only indicators I have seen that does not lie to you. Like, tell me any other indicators out there that doesn't lie based on you can see it with your plain eyes and there is no questions about it that hey, this is going long or hey, this is going short. Can anybody attest to that? No? Not even volume profile, not even stochastic slow, not even Fibonacci, right?
Yeah, because it breaks through all of that.
Not yeah, it breaks through all of that. As long as you have a trend, as long as you have a directional trend. So your 10 and 20 right here. This is downside. We can this anybody with an eye can tell me what direction that's going. You don't even need to know trading, support and resistance, Fibonacci, nothing. You can pull somebody off the street and say, "Hey, come here, sit down in the chair. If this candle goes above this 10 and 20, and it has an upward trend, an upward direction, I want you to take long. And if the price candle falls below it and you have a downside trend, I want you to go short for me. And no, don't ask questions, just do it. How much win rate do you think that that person's gonna do? Like no trading education, nothing. Just following your instruction to do this, no emotion. What do you think their win rate's gonna be?
Higher than 50, that's for sure.
Pretty high. So now let's
So
go go ahead.
that long position, that first one, technically probably wouldn't have been the best long position because the SMAs are pointing down.
Correct.
Maybe looking more for like the short position because it's all pointing down basically.
hmm So that's a good point here. Let me bring that up. So on the 5 minute, it was a on the 1 minute, it was a long setup. So right here, okay, you
Gotcha.
see the basket
Yep.
on the 1 minute. So this is why I really emphasize on this. These indicators, or the 10 and 20 as indicators, does not lie to you. It does not lie to you. It tells you why you're getting in. So right here, this remember, I can even block out this area right here to say it does not exist, right? That area does not exist, but your 10 and 20 is already telling you that hey, we're going up, we're curling up. Yeah, there is still, and I agree with you, there is still selling pressure right here. But as a scalper, even if you got in, and this is what I emphasize on, even if you got in right there because you saw it on a 1 minute, because you're scalping this, you could have gotten out. You could have gotten out. Watch this, right here, or any of this candle. So let's just say you wrote it up and you came down and you took that trade. Okay, you took that trade, and this is a stop loss because you took that trade and you didn't take profits. And I'm just gonna be realistic. Okay, you didn't take profit. That's your loss box. Okay, that's your loss box. So now you go, oh hey, anywhere right here in this section is now the 10 and 20 is now pointing down. Even if you took the trade, let's say right here in this candle right here, because now it's clean, that's pointing down in the 1 minute. So now let me show you the box. How big of a box is this? And it didn't break all the way to here, right? It didn't break until this guy. Now, how big is that losing box and the winning box?
Big.
It's a lot bigger, right? And that's realistic. Anybody can see this in plain eyes. So that's why I'm emphasizing on, if we can just do that and follow it with no emotion, your win rate is going to be a lot higher. You're going to be more profitable than you are losing. The only time we're losing because we're fighting a trend. We're fighting for the stock and hope that it's going to reverse and give us that direction, or the the FOMO, the fear of missing out. Because let's say in this trade right here, right? It reversed, it came up, it reversed, and now the candle is telling you, hey, get out. But then in our head, we're like, no, what if it's gonna bounce? What if it's gonna bounce really fast, just like here? I'm gonna miss that. I don't want to get out. And that is the emotion that's telling us every single day why we're losing on the trade. We're fighting it. And then by the time we're like, okay, never mind, I give up. We're giving up right down here on this next flush. This flush right here. We're like, okay, fine. I'm gonna get out. Well, now you missed the whole entire move, right? Even if you go to short there, your win rate is smaller. Let's say you took this loss here, right? And then now you went short here, but you got out right here where this next candle is. You see that your loss is bigger because you really got stubborn, and then you switch bias too late, and then it only made a small move before making another bounce up
But then on the smaller box, I triple my size.
on a smaller box. Which one?
And,
This one?
and on the bottom one, yeah, and I make it all back.
You can also do that, but we're gonna stay within same size risk management, right?
Well, that's what I did. That's what I did today. I lost. I got out. I doubled my previous one, so that way I can cover up the other one. Okay, I lost this one. Third time, so I think I tried a couple times, 3 or 4 times I tried longing because that stock was not shortable. Not you can't short it, you have to locate it. I didn't want to locate. So I was long biased because I mean it's short, a small stock. I mean, dude, that can rip. So 3 or 4 times, all my losing trades, I doubled my shares position. Um, hoping that I just need a little move up, so that way I can make up for my losses. And so dug myself in a hole. Didn't happen.
Right. But is that making sense to everybody what I'm going over here? Like if we can just do this, just say, hey, whatever your entry is, if you're entering on the 1 minute and 5 minute, which is that should be your ideal entry, right? Um, if we do this and follow the 10 and 20 SMAs based on its directional trend, we will have a higher win rate and
Yep.
less emotional trading because if we just say, oh, it's on the other side of the 10 and 20, I'm gonna get out, right? Even like you just have to consider the steepness of the direction, right? Because we discussed that if the 10 and 20 is like pointing straight up like this, like it's got a pretty steep direction, right? That's the 10 and 20. And then you have a selling candle like this, and it closed, right? It closed below the 10 and 20 here, but we know the 10 and 20 is still an uptrend. The probability of it reversing to at least like 50% is pretty high still. And then once it starts weakening, that's when the 10 and 20 starts to curl on the top. And that's when you know that, okay, it's losing momentum. Not necessarily like it's going to come down. It's losing momentum. Now the mindset of the traders is now there's now more selling as well, and the buying is slowing down. Okay, and that's the same way on on the downtrend. Okay, on the downtrend we have our 10 and 20 pointing down like this, 10 and 20 pointing down like this, and we have a candle coming down like this, right? Coming down, coming down, and then this one random candle spikes up like this. The probability of this candle coming back down is pretty high to at least 50%. 50% of that body, and then it's going to consolidate. It's going to consolidate, and then it starts to do this. Okay, because the 10 and 20, then it becomes more flat. It'll start doing this, and then it starts to basket itself, right? And then possibly once it does this, now this becomes a long setup. Okay, if you see this on a 5 minute, which is my preferred entry setup is on a 5 minute on a basket or the upside down, um, you know, cut. Okay, so now let's take a look at a different ticker symbol. Let's name off whatever you've traded that was a losing one.
So I did a trade on Apple yesterday, actually. I believe I got in the 5 minute at 7:15.
Okay.
Or might be 6:15 zone.
All right, let me set up everything. You said that was yesterday?
Yeah.
Okay, so yesterday was this one. We're just gonna try to forget about support and resistance for now. Okay, we're just gonna consider the day to try to really emphasize on my point here. Okay, so we got 1 minute on the right, 5 here, 15, and then uh, 1 hour. So so this was a losing trade?
Yeah.
Okay,
On the 5 minute, I got in at it's on 7:15. 5 minute. And so what I was thinking, like, okay, it's below the 10, and now that we're talking about it, I can see where I messed up pretty much, but went below the 20, and I'm like, oh, it's gonna go short. I did a put right there.
So you shorted
But
right here.
what I shorted right there, and then it just like went up the whole way. I'm like, oh,
Guys,
dang
okay.
it.
Great freaking example. Can you see what everybody can see right now?
Yeah, I can.
So you went put right there, and I'm not trying to blame you. This is just for us to really clean this up and see what we're seeing, right? This is exactly my point of view. Is you went short right there, and we just literally discussed if
Hmm.
the 10 and 20 is doing this, the probability of it when it breaks down below, the probability of it reversing is pretty high. And that's exactly what it did, right?
Yeah, so what I just realized right now, when you're doing Alex is the pointing, they're pointing up. And
Hmm.
so like when that was happening, this is all kind of new and I'm kind of trying to get that. So I was like, oh, it's down like the puts. And then it's like, yeah, no, you didn't see it the right way.
Hmm. So, um, so that you went put right there, and obviously it started making its way up. And then in this case, tell me where did you stop out on this?
I stopped out. Let me see my time here. Stopped out. Closed it out. Hmm,
Probably like around
at
9.
21. Huh? I
Around 9.
think I hold it. I held it way too long, like 7:41. Yeah, I think it was 7:41. Where's that at?
So 741, right here. So the top of this, right
Mm-hmm.
here. So you held it all the way to here, which was
Yeah.
it was at least you stopped out, right? But the realistic stop out was this candle right here, or actually this candle, because that clearly closed above.
And that's what I was gonna ask. I was like, okay, where should I have it? So right when it crosses the
Yep,
10,
right when
I'm
this
gonna
candle
stop.
right here, this candle right here with this arrow, it closed, right? It's a green candle close above the 10, and obviously that's already passed through the 20. So that's more realistic, right? So your range of loss could have been this guy right here, okay? So that's your range of loss. And look at this. So let's just say on this stop out, you decided to go long, right? You decided to go long. But in this case, let's see, you got stopped out again. You got stopped out again right in this candle, okay? Which is fine. It is a smaller win, right? It's a smaller win. But here's the thing. You could have entered this short, right? This probably would have stopped you out right here, but this is pointing down still. If you didn't get
Mm-hmm.
stopped out, one, two, three. So either way, you got chopped up right here, right? This is a
Yeah.
chop zone, which is if you got in short, you got stopped out right here on the upside. You went long, you got stopped out right here. You went short, got stopped out right here. So you got chopped up. Regardless, this is a smaller chop. Your losses is always going to be small, right? This is a chop, and then from here, this is a chop. Like that's your stopped out. And then finally, let's say you went short again, right? Like at least probably in these candles right here. In a 1 minute, you can probably see that. So on the right hand side, the 1 minute, you could see it right here, right? That's a clean signal, right? On the 1 minute. So
Yeah.
if you would have entered right there and got out right here, because that's more realistic.
Mm-hmm.
What the heck? And then now let's draw that box. So I believe you could have made all your money back from these almost,
Mm-hmm.
right? So one, two, three. And this is an example to trading the same size. Oh shoot. So I guess you still be down. You still be down in this case about 100% of your capital that you put in. Let's say you put in 100 and you didn't recoup all of it. But in this example, this was a chop trade anyway. As you can see on the 15, there's not much of a range, right? So your overall range on this stock that day, let me see, from high to low. So you only had $2.97 range, right? And then today you had, what was the range on today? $4, $4.67. Okay. So a smaller range from yesterday. So it was more choppy. It was less directional, right? And another thing that I'm seeing too is the stock will typically have a, I would say, 2 to 3 directional range on a given day, sometimes two. So what I mean by that is this, right? AMC had one direction today or yesterday, one direction. And then same thing today, had downside direction. Sometimes, and that's on a 1 hour. On the 5 minute, you had almost like a two direction. So you had one, and then here's your reversal, and then that's two. The rest of it is not an ideal trade. The volume is done. So ideally, when you're trading, you want to look for the range, right? So if you know AMC has a range of, what is this? It did $1.87. So $1.87, 50% of that, as you can see, it's kind of showing here. So a dollar. So about 50%, right? You can see that if we did this. Okay. If you don't know how far it can reverse, your 50% ratio is going to be your best bet to calculating which how far it's going to go. And based on this, look at this. This is like almost like magic. It came up and then retraced 50%, right? Let's just say, how do we know when the top is? Well, we don't. But if you're trying to figure out where the possibility of the reversal is, your best tool is to use that the quadrant. Okay. So I'm going to give you an example. Let's say um, this doesn't exist, right? And this started to turn red, and you're like, oh, if it's going to come down, where's the possibility? How far is the possibility of it retracing? So what you do is you do your 50% from that point because that is the most current information, right? So the possibility is right here where the orange line is, or the yellow line. Okay. So 1818 is the possibility, and it almost got there. But that's the best thing. That's the only best thing you can do is to try to figure out reversal. Is use this 50%. Okay. And this might also help you to really stay on the trade with the 10 and 20 SMA in your favor. Okay. In this case, you probably won't be looking at the downside quite yet because what are you seeing here? What are you seeing right here?
Pointing up.
They're still
SMAs.
they're still on the uptrend, correct? So if they're still on the uptrend, we together when we're trading should be calling this out. And this is why I want you guys to really be you know, interactive when we're trading because we're trying to remind each other like, hey, if you're in a trade and you're fighting the trade because you have a bias on which way it should go and you're not voicing it out, and then nobody else can help you. And but if you voice it out, let's say this is my trade, and I'm saying, hey guys, I'm going short right here. You can be like, hey TJ, the 10 and 20 is still pointing up. Where's your ideal exit, right? Then we can be like, Dang, you know what? You're right. I'm being stubborn again. I'm being stubborn again. I'm fighting. I'm hoping. I'm hoping that this is going to break down and continue to come down and continue to come down. When the 10 and 20 is not telling me that, right? We're guilty of it. We've all done it. Same thing on that Apple trade, right?
Yep.
If you voice that out, right? Go back to Apple. Okay. Like literally, this is literally, you got in right there, right?
The worst possible time to get in.
Yeah. And on top of that, it was a chase
Yep.
to go short on a three red candle, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So let's be let's just be open and say, you know what? No emotion. Let's just collaborate within the group and say, hey, I'm taking a short right here. What do you think? Then we can be like, oh, 10 and 20, still pointing up. Wait for a bounce and possibly reshort at the 50%. Okay, which I've called out many times when somebody says, hey, what do you think of this trade? And then typically my answer is, that looks like a chase. Wait for it to bounce up or reverse the other way first, and then get in. And so your ideal entry of short would have been more ideal right here at the 50% mark. But then what are we seeing here on the 50% mark with the 10 and 20?
Pointing up and it's above it.
Pointing up is above it. And what does that mean to us?
Won't get in.
It's a long, right?
Yep.
So hopefully I can really drill this into to us, including me, that this is this indicator literally does not lie to you. It does not lie to you as long as you just set your emotions aside, that says, hey, we're below. Like let's say right here, right? Hey, we're below. We're curling at the top two, the 10 and 20. Let's go short. Okay, so first we made money because everything stayed down, and then it reversed on us. We got stopped out, but that stopped out is tiny. Look at this. Okay, that's the box. That's how far off that is, that entry between your entry and your stop out. You could have made this money if you took that profit. Could have, you know. And then here's another box for a stop out right here, this range. So hopefully this is starting to make sense.
And again, when we're trading like this, right? Taking profit at any time within that range that you're going to. Yes, there's no indication possibly. Maybe at the beginning, I don't know. Just so that we can practice on taking profits.
Hmm.
you, you see green, all right, take it, and then wait for the next indication confirmation. Okay, now this is going either up or down, and then get again. You start seeing green, take your profit. You don't necessarily have to wait until your stop loss. Take your green, and then just wait. Maybe that can be something I can maybe practice myself. Um,
Yeah,
but
we
waiting
can
at A
all
plus.
right, and we can all practice this in like a week, right? Let's say like tomorrow. Well, I'll trade I'll trade AMC or any stocks that's able to short without having to locate borrows, and just play these trend just you can do it in stocks, you can do it options, might be a little bit harder because of the theta, right? And the depending on the what time of day it is, and then what day of the week. So that's gonna play a big role. But as far as just stock itself, there's no there's no theta decay or anything. You can just sit on it as long as you want, as long as it's not broken, right?
Pull up DWAC.
DWAC.
That was my losing trade today.
Okay.
So
So
5 minute.
5 minute. So DWAC's a grind.
Yeah. So on the big wick right there, I have my chart pulled up as well. So I know exactly where I got in.
Okay.
So on that 11 o'clock mark on yours, on the 5 minute.
Okay. On the 5 minute. All right, so
right there.
you got in long,
No, no, so yeah, I got in long, so more to the right.
this guy.
I did not catch the big candle, no. So
Okay,
it started already coming down.
right here.
It's yes. So I got in about somewhere right there, yeah, because it was approaching the 10 and 20 SMA.
Hmm.
I was like, all right, it possibly could bounce back up because I looked left. That's where I got some support from.
Hmm.
So I was like, all right, let me go ahead and catch that move. And so I got in long, and it continued going down. It did go green for a little bit. I didn't take profits right away because I was like, oh, this is DWAC. It possibly can spike up again. That was my thought process. Like, dude, this thing can blow up again. Look at some behavior
Hmm.
from the past. But yeah, wrote it down, uh, and
Right here.
when it I stopped out. Yeah, when it closed below the 10 and 20 SMA. I was like, all right, I'm done.
Okay. Yeah, that's, I mean, that, I would say that was a fair trade. I don't see anything wrong with that. I guess it would have been exiting sooner and possibly seeing that on a 1 minute would be a better tell sign to like, okay, if you went long, so let me see on a 1 minute. So if you went long here, I mean, the 1 minute actually told you it was a short.
No, I got long because I look and I take a trade when on I have a confirmation on the 1 minute as well that it didn't cross the 10 to 20 yet. So
Hmm.
so towards the left on the 1 minute.
Okay, so
Yeah,
right here, yeah.
no, more towards the left. Like
Yeah,
it
yeah.
took a long. Yeah.
I see it right there. Okay. So that was a dip down to the 20 SMA, which was pointing up, which is again, this is why I don't see any really big issue in this trade. I think you stopped out properly. The only thing that could have been a factor is sized in too much. It could have been
500 shares is what I got right away, and I didn't size it, averaged in or anything.
okay, so it was just a one shot and go.
Yep.
Okay. So and another thing you can implement as well is we talked about this, breaking down your position into quarters. So if you have you have it in mind that hey, I'm gonna do 100 shares in this particular trade. I'm gonna test it out with a quarter position, and then as it moves up more in a trending favor, like there's an actual strong move to your direction, then you can put in your next 50% or your another quarter if you want to be conservative, another quarter until you build into full size. And you guys have heard me before, right? Hey guys, I'm getting in right here with the starter. This is my starter position. So starter is just means I want to be in the trade now, right? The setup is presenting itself, and I want to build into it. And sometimes this is also a downside for me is my mindset is like, okay, I'm gonna build into a position because let's just say I want this level to hold because I'm like relying on the support now, right? I'm thinking, okay, this is support line. I'm gonna use this range right here. I'm gonna use this range as my build position. Like I'm long bias. This should bounce. This DWAC. I'm gonna size in. So I'm gonna build in a quarter, another quarter, another quarter, and then boom, right here at the very last support, I'm gonna be like, hey guys, I'm full size. I'm full size right here. That means 100 share if that was the allocated size I want to be in DWAC. And then if it breaks below that, I get stopped out, right? I get stopped out right here. Okay. Um, my most common mistake that I have made is I move my build position. I go, hey, you know what? I want to build another position right here. I now want to use this range since it's chopped right here. I'm hoping, right? I'm hoping that this level holds, and then I'm gonna go the double up strategy. I'm gonna be like, okay, I'm 100 shares in this range. Now I'm gonna add another 50, 50%, and then another 50%. So now I'm at 200% position. I'm now at 200 shares. And then from there, uh, as you can see, it could have been a nice win trade, right? But I'm realizing this is what's building the stubbornness is when you move your range box to build your position. The strategy does work, right? The strategy does work, but what I'm seeing is I'm feeding my stubbornness. I'm feeding my stubbornness to make a win, to make it a win. Okay? The saving your bad trade to go green should not be your probably number one strategy, because then you're okay with making the mistakes too many times and building too big of a position. It should be just uh, once in a while type of use. Don't abuse it is what I'm trying to say. Don't abuse the let's get out of a bad trade because it works. But at the same time, when it doesn't, when that save your bad trade strategy doesn't work, it becomes more of a bigger loss, right? And I know that. And so it should be used with cautious, right? And just you know, kind of pick your battle. But the point is staying within the 10 and 20, what we discussed about, is more reliable. Do you guys agree with that?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So what we're gonna
But
do this week, at least this is what I'm gonna do, and I encourage you guys to do it as well. And we've talked about this in the past, to just use the 10 and 20 SMA and just play with it. Build that build that trust. Build that trust.
Let's
Okay?
make a 10 and 20 week challenge.
10 and
Or
20
I
week
don't know.
challenge. Yeah,
10 and 20 challenge week. There.
I agree. And it's gonna get choppy. And if it's choppy, like especially a DWAC like this is super choppy, right? There's a lot more stocks that gives you a cleaner trend, a cleaner trade. Okay? So we don't
Do
have
we
to
know
trade
which
one.
time frame to like us the 10 and 20? Because like like the 5 minute might cross, but it's holding on the 15, and you know what I'm saying? Like,
So my
you
rule of
know,
thumb is I look at the 1 hour as my ideal setup. If the 1 hour gives me a good feel that, hey, I'm gonna trade this to the upside if this pattern remains. Like let's say DWAC right here, right? Like this pattern right here is above the 10 and 20 on the hourly. So overall, this is a long bias trade. But as you can see on like the 15, the 5, and the 1 minute, like it gets choppy. This might be the wrong days here. Is it the same day? Yeah, 2 days. Okay. Okay, that's the last day. So it's this day right here, and this is the day here, right? So as you can see on a 1 minute, it's choppy, but overall in the trend, so this is also what you need to look at is, are you a scalper? Are you a swing trader? What is your strategy? Like this is overall a bullish trend. You can see it on the 1 hour, on the 15, on the 5, but the 1 minute is choppy as heck. You see what I'm saying? Like you'd get stopped out. The 5 minute is also choppy. Like there's not enough range before you get stopped out. So then I would just ignore that. Okay? Any questions, guys? Do we see what we're going over here?
yes, sir.
sign is 2020.
There we go. So that is the game plan. Tomorrow I'm gonna pick the popular stocks like AMC, possibly if DWAC is shortable. I want to be able to trade both directions, but again, I need to see some clean trends on the 5 minute and the 1 hour. So my 5 minute will be a nice setup for an entry, and then the 1 hour will be my overall trend for the day. Okay.
I watched the entire earnings today, about them speaking today about AMC. Everything was positive. Like there was nothing negative about it. Them creating NFTs, them creating popcorn where they're going to sell it to the public. There's a lot of good stuff about it, and then the main guy says 90% of shareholders are retail owners, and then the rest is institutions. So I was watching Trey and how he explained everything about AMC. So
Yeah. So the big
how
squeeze
manipulated that is,
might
yeah.
actually happen.
I mean, it can take a while because it's going through all of this process of court and people, lawyers, and how they manipulate it, how they all these synthetics, and there's a whole drama behind it.
Yeah. Well, if
Transparency is what they're fighting for.
yeah, if any stock's gonna do a major squeeze, AMC is the best candidate.
Yeah, GME, GameStop, and AMC.
Hmm.
When we don't know.
Yeah, that's a big question. I'll just trade it every day.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't miss that big squeeze, right?
Well, they're saying that usually something like this, they're preparing the rumors or something either pre-market when a lot of people are still sleeping, and then aftermarket when people already left the computer. They don't see it.
Mm,
Who knows, man?
I see, I see. All right. So tomorrow we have a game plan, right? On how we're gonna trade these stocks or options.
I I might as well share you guys what I told True Ninja the other day.
Yeah, what you
Like
got?
so I told him like literally just find the if your bias is bear, just find the shittiest stock at the end of the day today. And then that's what you play tomorrow. If your bias is bull, just find the strongest stock. I told him yesterday, just go short GS today and look what happened to GS. Bang.
Was that the
Literally.
crappiest stock from yesterday?
Yeah, look at GS yesterday. And I was explaining this to him. Look at the daily.
Hmm. I mean, the hourly is clean too. We're below the 10 and 20.
Yeah, like this is what you can literally look for. Like on the daily, you're below all moving averages, and like I did a gap fill yesterday, but look at GS,
Hmm.
barely moved, even though SPY moved down. So on a bad day today, all you have to do is go put some GS. And honestly, like I got this one on my large account, made 75%, and then my small account, I made 50% on FB puts.
Yeah, nice. That's awesome. So again, like what Brian is saying here, our 10 and 20 indicators like does not lie. Look at this. Our 10 and 20 indicators was like, yeah, let's go short, guys. Let's go short for real. I'm not lying.
Oh yeah, like
Look at
if
this.
you combine it with your fib too, can you just draw the daily
The daily
from the
fib.
bottom of the green to the top of the left side?
Do you scan for these VMATs?
Huh?
How
I
do
don't
you
remember
scan
half.
for?
Oh, I have a predetermined list and just look at it every day.
Yeah, BMAS has like
Check it out.
favorite list. Yep.
Look how easy this trade was if you zoom into the 5 minute. Like literally the easiest thing you'll ever see. Boom. Break below, retest, and down you go. Easiest trade.
Yep. So he's saying the 78.6 right here, the retest and rejection, because basically this is already your ceiling right here. This is your ceiling.
Correct.
So, um, another thing I want to emphasize too, you see how when Brian is like discussing like what he's seeing, I can see what he sees, right? And that's just understanding that these levels are important based on his Fibonacci's. And like I said too, I know how to use the Fibonacci's the way Brian uses it, but again, like that's his preferred indicators. And as you can see, it aligns with the 10 and 20, even without looking at the Fibonacci, right?
Right. And like the thing is I my double confirmation is like when the 10 and 20 aligns plus at the sell zone.
Hmm.
So I have like not only does the 10 align, the 20 align, it's also at the sell.
Yep.
That's how I keep my accuracy high. And I had Facebook today too. I'll show you that quick, just
Facebook,
so people are
FB.
just pull up the hourly chart, I guess. So just draw it from the bottom, the green, same day. Zoom in. Same day. Today's day.
Oh, yesterday?
Today.
Oh, today.
Just zoom into today.
I'll zoom into today. Oh, shoot. What the heck's am I doing here?
It's a really easy, simple trick. Let me show you. So get green in the middle,
This one?
and then pull it all the way to the top, because that one bounced, right? So if you look over there, that's
The rejection. Yeah.
that's all I shorted today. So once I saw it pull up to the 78.6, zoom into the 5 minute,
78.6 of this guy. So the 5 minutes
go
down
to
here.
the 5 minute. Okay, cool. So once I saw that red candle on the 5 minute break below 78.6, that was my entry. And then my stop loss was the green candle above it.
So your stop loss is this guy right here.
Yep.
And then your
And then
entry is this guy.
correct. That's how I did it today.
Mhm.
Boom.
And then Brian
Did you
actually
know that?
had a better conviction, confirmation in this candle too. So that was good.
Did you know that it was going to do the 78.6 as like the level, not like the 61.8 or 50? Like why
Okay.
78.6?
Because I actually never guess the top or bottom anymore. Right? I used to be a guesser where I think like, oh, it's gonna get rejected here, so I'm gonna go puts. So what I do is I literally wait for it to retrace, and then once I see it fail at that level, I'll just go in the next candle because it fails. Like there's no point for me to short if it's still going up, but the moment it switches trends, like you see a hammer candle, you know how I say like a hammer candle on the upside, and then followed by a red candle to the downside, that means the trend changes. Well, guess what? This did it, and so I just went short.
Hey,
Oh,
B-Man.
okay.
Yeah.
Hey, B-Man, if you're drawing the fib on the daily chart when it's happening live, how do you know when to start it?
So I actually had these drawn on the daily, but since I couldn't find it on the daily anymore, I just went on the hourly. I just waited to see these candles.
Basically, that 78.6, it could have been the 61.8 if that pattern would have showed up. It crosses
Correct.
61.8, it goes down.
Correct. So if this pulled up to the 50 or the 61.8, you don't care because all you're looking for is the next red candle. So it doesn't matter where it happens, but as long as you know where the next red candle is, and that's all you have to do. Like, don't try to guess the top, don't try to guess the bottom. This is like more like this is not scalping. This is like a buy and hold because what you're basically doing is you're already identifying where your buy zone is and your stop loss is. And then what I told Shu Ninja the other day is turn off your PNL. Don't even look at your PNL because he was telling me how it affects him. He doesn't get stopped out when he's supposed to stop, and it's because you're looking at your P&L. But if you don't see your P&L, then you have no reason not to get out because you don't really know how much you're making or how much you're losing.
You're playing the chart.
You're playing the chart.
You're playing
Right.
the setup. So which is a good point too. And then like what you were asking, like why not the 61.8? Even if it did go to 61.8, like you can see it right here on the 1 hour, which is that's how he charted it, right? On the 1 hour. You can see if I ask you what's your conviction, why the downside on what you see right here? What would you tell me?
It's
And 20
under
are pointing down
oh
right there.
Yep, the 10 and 20 is pointing down, and you're below the 10 and 20. If you're approaching that, that's a high probability that this is going to be a resistance zone, and all what Brian's going to do is wait for a candle, a red candle on the downside. The moment you get a red candle, it's confirmation to selling right at this level.
correct.
So then,
Is the
And
confirmation
yeah,
on the 5 minute basically? Is that kind of where your confirmation for the more candle and then the red?
correct.
yes,
The 5 minute is my confirmation like chart pattern or time frame. So,
yeah, because I mean honestly, like it's such a clean trade. Like now that it pulled up, now you know like that's where all the sellers are, and then the following candle's red. That's all it is. And then you just make your stop loss at top of the green. And I mean, that's such a small like stop loss. Like you could literally load up on weeklies there and be down like 10% if you're wrong, but be up 100% if you're right.
There you go.
So I bought next week's contracts and it paid 65%
That's
because I
awesome.
had the 205s and it's a short move.
Did you know where to take profits?
I do know. Yeah,
Where
I do know where to take the
where do you normally
127
take
line at the fib levels.
the
Yeah,
sec
so
2 fib?
so 2 fibs down for him. So if his entry was right here, so the 100 and then also the 127 too would be his top profit take.
And then if you have extra, then you just leave some as a runner.
Yep. If you have 5 contracts, you sell 1 or 2 contracts at the first line, sell next 2 on the second line, and then let the 1 run. So that would be the example. But as you can see, guys, the Fibonacci, which is Brian's favorite indicator to use, the 10 and 20 SMAs is my favorite thing to use. But at the end of the day, again, like, what are you gonna use that's really that you trust? And the 10 and 20 I trust, and Brian trusts the Fibonacci, right?
Well, I
But
actually
both,
trust the 10 and 20. I
oh,
actually trust the 10 and 20 more.
yeah,
It's
but
just, yeah,
those line up with your Fibonacci.
exactly. So that's my thing. It has to line up with the Fibonacci.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So there you go. I'm gonna keep it simple. I'm gonna stick with the 10 and 20. And thanks to Brian, that's my favorite indicator. And that's it. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
And we're gonna continue to use
It's
it because it doesn't lie. The SMAs does not lie.
no. It's like the basically think of the 20 as like the strongest. It's so hard to pop over it.
Hmm.
Once it gets below it, it's hard. So it's really safe to trade towards where that's pointing.
Hmm. There you go. So I'm actually gonna leave my chart like this because I actually like this setup right here. 1 minute, 5, 15, and then a 1 hour. So I'm gonna leave that. So
So
One
anyone know what happened in the State of the Union address today? Nothing.
no, I didn't listen. I just like took a
I,
just
I listened. I listened to half of it, but a lot of promises and a lot of cheering going on. Oh, he was so good. Biden is so good. All the record high jobs. Like uh, too much BS, my opinion.
Honestly, I don't know. What are can you move your chart to the right a little bit, TJ, so we can see prices?
Hang on, I'm gonna save this. To the right.
The Where your charts on the left are, like the tiny charts.
Oh, this guy.
Yeah, just move them to the right just a little bit. Not all the way, but
Oh, okay.
just so it tells you like how much up and down we are.
Hmm.
750. We'll see if that holds tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, it
It
sounds
looks
like
like
the news is sounding really positive, and that we could rally back up because now
yeah.
we're getting
So
hope in the market. Like everybody's feeling light and like positive. Like, yeah, we're gonna stop them.
yeah. So with that said, like I told Chewy Ninja the other day, if I'm feeling bullish in the market tomorrow, just can you click on net change on your watch list?
Net
See what
change. Net change.
percent.
Baidu.
Baidu? Okay. Then that means I'm most likely gonna trade Baidu tomorrow.
Let's take a look at Baidu. Baidu's strong.
There you go. It's a bull flag.
It is a bull flag.
So that's all you have to know. If market's up tomorrow, then first thing I'm gonna look at is Baidu.
There you go. Baidu, Coin, and DWAC. Top
Oh
three.
yeah, coin for sure. Coin's about to hit like 260, I
So
think,
let's do.
or 208. How much is it right now? Yeah, 208 for sure.
There you go. So let's see. And then if I was to ask you guys, what's causing Brian to say this is bullish? Somebody answer that. Anybody?
You're pointing up on the 1 hour.
Yep, we are pointing up on 10 and 20, guys. Okay,
And just draw my fib for to see my entry.
so he will do
That's the
this.
hourly. Yep.
Boom.
There you go. And what's the
61.8 dip.
number at
61.8, which is 193.626.
what's the 127 target?
Is Brian's gonna load up 216.
216. Yep, that's my target.
There you go.
Perfect.
There you go, guys. 216.
And my buy zone's over 198.91. Open above 198.91 tomorrow. That makes all moving averages point up. And then I'll just get out at 216.
There you go. What is
How do you
this?
know when to refib on the day like you did on the, I think it was Facebook, where like the hourly on the daily, like
So my dailies are always charted. I always mark my dailies. If I open in the middle of the day, like let's just say my daily let's just say Facebook, let's just say is charted in the daily, right? And let's just say my 78.6 is 200 and then my 100 line is 205. If it opens in the middle, right? If it opens at 203, that's when I start charting the hourly charts to see what's going on. Because it's in the middle of two daily targets. That's the only time I would chart them. Like I know coin is in the middle right now just because it's a bull flag in a day or a bear flag in a day, right? That's why. But
Okay,
it looks good to me.
he sure does. Okay. All right, everybody. Any last questions? Did I make that clear? Did that make sense to you? Do you feel like you can use the 10 and 20 confidently?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, awesome. All right, guys. Go play with it. Go chart it. Go put it on different stocks, ticker symbols, whatever, and just really start looking left, and then just figure it out. Hey, did this make sense? Will it lie to me? Practice it, believe it, whatever you want to do to increase your confidence to use it, and
That's
just play
such a
it.
good example right there, actually. That 1 minute.
Yeah, this is
Every
great.
time, so every time it pulled up, you get the next red candle. You just short it. As long as you're in trend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you
See you
tomorrow morning.
guys.
All right.
See ya.
all right, thank you guys.